On February 8th, Gary Vaynerchuk said, don't buy a house and a listing with a sex dungeon in the basement. We're going to talk about it all on Toole Time. This is Toole Time. I'm Tom Toole. She's Jess Lion. We've got some pretty crazy topics today, some controversial stuff. So let's get into it. Jess, you told me about this, so I must live under a rock, but apparently this is all over the place. There was a home in Maple Glen that has an advertised sex dungeon with all sorts of crazy stuff in there, and the realtor made sure to advertise it all. So what do you think about all this?
I love this story. And now it's like national news. They're talking about this in like Kentucky and Arizona. It's all over the entire country, so it's pretty cool. I think that I would have done the same thing. I feel like as a realtor, it's your job to get as many eyes on the property as possible. And out of all of those, qualify the buyers that want to come through and then sell the property for the most money for your client. So yeah, I think that the owners had the concept of like selling this sexual oasis. They're creative people. If you like look into them, they came up with the concept, but kudos to her for being brave enough to take the listing and put it out there.
So let's talk a little bit about this agent.
What?
As I usually do, I did a ton of research here. So this particular agent, you guys can Google her. I'm not going to name her. She sold 6 homes since the beginning of 2018. So that's 6 properties, $2.812 million in volume. So do the math. You can see what kind of producer she is. Then I went a little deeper because I wanted to understand what kind of realtor is willing to alienate potentially half the population, because there are people that will not look at that home, right or wrong. It's just like politics. You're going to alienate half the people out there by showing this, because there's some conservative people that probably don't like it. There's probably some that don't care, and some that say, wow, this is really cool. So we know her track record is not selling a lot of properties to begin with. So kind of that would be my first comment here. She's been licensed since 2000.
Maybe she's gonna sell more now. Sorry to cut you off.
She's been licensed since 2005, so I think that would have happened by now, being 14 years in the business.
She needed this.
Well, maybe she did if she sells the house, but again, that's kind of the ultimate goal here, right? So then I went a little deeper and I looked on her Facebook page, her business page, and a couple different places. So her Facebook business page has a website listed there. I clicked on the website and the website doesn't work. Then I went to her Zillow profile, and I clicked on the website there, which also didn't work, and it was a different website. Then I clicked on the Twitter account available on her Zillow profile. That didn't work, and neither did the Facebook page. So then I went on the Facebook page, because this has been all over social media, and she's been posting a lot of stuff. Prior to this listing hitting the market, she made 5 posts on her business page for all of 2018. So then I found on Twitter a video of her, which, hey, great, doing video, all for that. And the words she used in the video were, "Welcome to your private adult playground. This is a sexual oasis." So when I see all this, it is very clear to me what her intention was, and it's not selling the house. It's, I want attention. I want everyone to know who I am. Her track record of not selling a lot of real estate and the inactivity on social media leading up to that tells me that this was an attention grab, not an actual way to sell the home, because the home's been on the market for over 30 days now and hasn't sold. What does that tell you about the property being a good realtor?
The house has been on the market for over 30 days?
Yes.
When did it go live? On the MLS right now it says 7.
So there was some pre-marketing done previously on Zillow. So that's where I got the 30-day number from, which I can show you.
I was looking at the MLS.
That's fine. My point is, though,
market.
One of the reasons why a great home doesn't sell is that buyers need to have the right emotional reaction when they walk through the door. So if you're going to, and we talk about neutralizing properties, making them appeal to everybody, if you're going to have that down there, I am clear there are people that will be alienated, and any good agent who knows how to sell homes at a high volume would have told them, get this out of the basement, not because I have a problem with it, but you're going to lose buyers.
If you look at the videos that the sellers put out, they were very clear that they wanted to market the property this way. And if you're saying that she just wanted it to get notoriety, I mean, they wanted to market this way. She was totally okay with that. She's like, I see that there's going to be a ton of eyes on this. This is a huge story. I'm going to take it. Fine.
Based on selling 6 homes a year, I don't know that she has the resume to tell people exactly what to do to sell a home. Of those 6, it was 3 listings, 3 buyer deals, and hey, she doubled the national average, which still in my opinion sucks. My problem isn't with going out and marketing it that way if that's what the seller wanted. My concern is because our job's to help people. And the difference between a good agent and a great agent is a good agent tells people what they want to hear, so they'll hire them. And from her reports online, the information listed there was, I need someone out of the box who's going to embrace this. A great agent gives people the hard news they don't want to hear, but it's going to sell the home. So I'm clear she fell into the good agent category because, yeah, maybe this guy or woman or whoever the seller is didn't want to hear it. I know if we would have walked into that property selling the volume of homes we do, not that we know everything, you're going to alienate people. You might as well talk about politics at that point.
I feel like the people that they're alienating, and you could see the feedback that they were talking about, it's like 90% has been positive. The neighbors are the ones who are coming through and saying, like, I don't want this property listed in my neighborhood. I don't want people coming in who would like that. And honestly, it sounds a little bit boring to me. Like, don't judge. And they just wanted to get as many eyes on the property as possible, and I think that they did the right thing. I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't have listed it that way.
Well, I guess time will tell here if this home sells or not. Again,
we're going to circle back on this, I think.
Well, my concern here is more for the seller because I'm looking at the track record of the agent, and let's say you were interviewing against this agent. Would you talk about your track record, how many homes you've sold, and what your experience is?
Absolutely.
So your experience is tremendous compared to this, and that doesn't surprise me. Obviously, we work together and we train on that. When I see her actions, and then I see literally on her social media pages multiple tweets a day, hey, check out my new listing. Look at all this new attention. When there is very little activity otherwise, this is a play for attention. And again, I am clear. If this listing expires or something expires like that, one of the reasons a great home doesn't sell is because the right emotional reaction. If you're going to alienate buyers, there's people that I know out there that would not go look at that home because of that. They don't want that going on in their property, and that's not my point. My point is you're letting them know and giving them a reason to not like the property and buy it. And that's not what a good agent does. You appeal to the masses.
The masses seem to be liking it.
They like it on social media. I'm not seeing any offers on the property because.
But we'll see what happens on this one. I would have listed it the same way.
Well, I think we might have had to have a little conversation then before we did that because that's so you want to take that a step further?
Yeah.
I look up at the wall here behind the camera. One of our core values is being professional. I don't know that it's that professional to walk around and say, welcome to a sexual oasis in the video marketing the property.
I would have maybe used a different word than sexual oasis.
Private adult playground? Would you have used that one? Because that was the other thing she said.
I would have got creative with it.
Would you have had a whip in your hand? Because that's what she did too.
Yes. I'm just kidding. No.
I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's not so much at face value. Hey, the pictures are there.
I'm saying don't be judgy.
I'm not being judgy. I'm telling her how to sell a house because that's what I'm hired to do.
I think she'll sell the house with all these eyes on the property. That's what I think she'll do.
This is no different to me than when I hear people say, hey, this property is next to so-and-so who's a famous person. And a lot of time the client's reaction is, who gives a shit?
I feel like that's kind of not the same.
I mean, well, what's her game plan here? Like, what's the end game besides getting a lot of people?
Pictures of the neighbor next door who's Cole Hamels or something.
Well, I'm not saying that they do that, but there's agents that think that's going to help sell the home, and not all press is good press. And in this situation, I mean, the home's been on the market 7 days. It's a higher price point for our marketplace, so it does take longer for those properties to sell. What I can tell you here is that in that 7 days' time that it's actually been live and active on the MLS, we sold a ton of real estate.
Yeah, we have.
At price points like this. So
let's see how fast it sells.
I would say let's see if it sells.
Oh.
Because we know that the average realtor is only selling 1 out of every 2 homes they list right now. So I don't disagree with you from the, hey, this is funny, this is a cool topic. I disagree with our job is to sell the home, and this is not I've been doing this so long or anything else. I know it's going to alienate a lot of people. It's like when there's a cat smell in a property and people don't like pets. That doesn't excite people. I don't see this being much different there.
I'm on the other side. I think that with all of these eyes on the property, yes, I agree with you. She may have had the wrong intention since she only sold, how many properties. But if it were me and our track record, and we can market better than a lot of the other agents out there, most of the other agents out there, I think we would have come from a place of good intention, and I would have seen it as, and this is an extra little bonus to sell it.
Again, I don't think that's what I'm saying here. I'm looking at when I go deeper on what actually happened here and her actions since this hit the market and the lack of action previously.
That's true. Maybe she can grow. Maybe this is, number one for her. Let's go. And now she's going to do great.
I think step one would be get a working website on your Facebook page or your Zillow profile where people go to search real estate. Like, this is the stuff that drives me crazy. So
step it up.
It's clear to me there's some inexperience here, and maybe it's, even a lot of the articles said she's enjoying her 15 minutes, so I guess we'll see what happens. But, the reason the home will sell is not because of this sex dungeon. It's because it's being marketed properly, it shows well, and it's being priced accordingly. That's what this is going to come down to.
Shows really well.
Again, we'll see. If they don't turn off the right person. So we'll definitely update you on this one. We're going to start to update on more of the stories that we cover here. We've got one coming next week. So I think it's pretty clear where we all stand on this one. Jess, topic number 2, probably more controversial, believe it or not, is Gary Vaynerchuk.
My man.
So, full disclosure, I have been to his Agent 2021 event. I've met him briefly. Big follower of his. I think we got one of his books behind us here, Ask Gary V. I've read a number of the others, Crushing It, Crush It, all that sort of stuff. So I love what he says, and our show here is inspired by him fundamentally at a very basic level. So there is nothing negative here about Gary with the exception of his comment, and then we're going to talk about it. So he dropped a video podcast. It's on his audio experience on February the 8th, where, to quote him specifically, he is pissed he owns a home. He's going to rent in perpetuity once he moves out of that property. And the American dream is BS. Those were his words, not mine. You can watch the video. And it caused quite a reaction. So I'll get into some of the reaction later. What do you think about all this?
So I sent you this podcast too because I was listening to
it
in the car, and I was like shook. I was like, what did he just say? I was like, oh my God. And then after thinking about it and re-listening to it, he is talking to this guy, and he does say it's a bad use of upfront capital. And then he references kids and going to college and doing it just because their parents want them to, and not because that's the right move for them. And I think that's the point that he's trying to make here. If you're starting a business, or if you want to do some big time investing, that money that you would use to put towards a down payment of a home, you could put towards your business or something else. Other people who aren't into that, a home, if you sit down with a realtor and you talk about the numbers and you look at the area and things like that, could be your greatest investment. So I think that it really depends on your audience here.
Yeah, so part of the context here in the response, he actually came out with a video on the 8th after this podcast dropped and said, hey, there wasn't enough context there, I'm going to build around it, etc. He is not the only influential person in business that says this. Grant Cardone, so he's been saying this for years, that it's a bad idea to buy a property, but he owns 700 rental properties. That's Grant Cardone. So he's talking about a principal primary residence here. So some of the reaction, and then I'll let you know what this tells me. So Chris Smith, founder of Curator. So if you don't know what Curator is, they do websites for real estate agents, a lot of advertising. I've met Chris a couple times. His tweet was, I have been one of Gary's biggest fans over the years and admire him greatly. But, ... if he doesn't think people should buy homes, I don't think he should have a conference that makes money off of agents. So, shots fired for sure. Knowing Chris, this might have been a little clickbait sort of thing. I've seen kind of what he does before. And Chris has a great company, no question there. He has a USA Today bestseller, The Conversion Code, so obviously much more successful than I am or Jess is. That's not my point. There was some context there. what Gary is saying, and having gone through starting a real estate business, so you joined a team, so a little different situation for you than me living in my parents' basement after I graduated college, after getting licensed at 19, saying, okay, now what? And I'm working, and living in my parents' basement in Chester Springs. Like, that was not exciting to me. So I get where Gary's coming from there, and that at the time I needed more money to invest in the business than I did to buy a house. So it was time for me to eat some you-know-what for a while and do that. So Gary's context here was, for him, and he said this in the video, that I don't know if people own homes or not. I just see where they live, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's a great personal investment strategy for a lot of people. He is talking about being an entrepreneur and trying to start a business and buying a home. That was the context I got. So if you're trying to start a business, and you look at a lot of businesses that are out there, a lot of startups, I mean, you have to go all in and really work your face off and make some sacrifices in the short term.
Slum it out for a little bit.
Well, no question. I mean, so I get that part. Now, where I disagree with him is that I do not see the American dream as being BS. There's some stats out there I'll share with you. If you look at renters over 65 years old who rented their entire life, their net worth is $5,700, roughly. If you look at homeowners who are over 65, their net worth is over $300,000.
Yep.
So you're talking about a $296,000 difference. So not everyone's going to be Gary Vee. And Gary Vee has been wrong. I mean, he passed on Uber twice. I don't know if that was a great move. And he'll tell you about that. Yeah. I know his company, Vaynerchuk. So you think they make all this money. When I was at Agent 2021 last year, so that was the beginning of 2018, he was filming the Tom Ferry show. I was sitting there watching it. His company made $1 million last year. That was the profit. So you look at that giant mega machine they have, and this is documented. This isn't any breaking news. He shared this before. So take it with some context here and what the facts are. Chris, I kind of get where he's coming from. What I will say, Chris, is I was at Agent 2021. I didn't go this year. I was clear it added a lot of value. Literally, that's why we're sitting here right now. We got Nick behind the camera. That was all manifested for me going to Dolphin Stadium for one day. One day, and that was it. So then you look at some of the responses here. They say, well, these guys never sold real estate. Then they reference Bill Belichick. A bunch of social media nonsense. One of the people the response I thought was the most thoughtful, let me find it here, and it was not one of these memes that are coming up on my computer right now. Here we go. So it was from Dave Sordelette down in Delaware. So I know Dave. I was taken aback as an influencer. I commend you that you had he said the word, the intestinal fortitude, if you will. I'm not going to say what he said here, to make the statement to Chris Smith. I think it's a nice statement. Again, doesn't have the context. Byron Lazine, good friend of mine, runs a team up in northern Connecticut, said that, hey, as an entrepreneur, I hear where he's coming from. As someone who sells real estate, it doesn't make sense for everybody. There's people that are, the median income in our marketplace is $87,000 a year. So for that person, buying a home probably makes a lot more sense than taking all that money and pouring it back into the business. Bill Butler from Massachusetts, another friend of mine, I would love to have Gary Vee as my tenant. It seems as if we don't ever have to compete with him in the investment property space. So that was kind of funny. The whole point here is what Gary's saying did not have context. It was like a 45-second
real quick
hot take, right?
Exactly.
They do that in sports all the time where they say something, they cut it up. I would disagree that the American dream is BS. I understand where Gary's coming from. However, for the normal person out there who is not running a major company like him and trying to grow an empire, it probably makes more sense to buy a property and increase your net worth over time.
I 100% agree. Context here. We're on the same side.
And I will go back to Agent 2021 if the opportunity arises. So no hate here for anybody. Just very interesting comments from a couple sides of the fence outside of the table here. So good stuff. Thanks for the comment, Gary. This made it for an easy show today, so I appreciate that.
Hi.
When are you going to do the 5 a.m. call, Gary? That's what I want to know. We were promised. We're waiting. Byron is all up. Yeah, Byron, it was a verbal. So little pressure on Gary here to get on the 5 a.m. call, 5amcall.com. Hopefully we'll hear you on there this year.
I'll be out for that one.
Well, you should be on every call. That's the whole point.
I should.
It's this. Well, that actually interesting. That takes us into topic
Segue.
3, right? That was a good segue. Not planned either. So, so this is a quote from Tom Ferry. So, I've been coaching with Tom Ferry, full disclosure, for about 9 years. Tom is a huge mentor of mine. Much love. Helped grow our business. So, I'm a big believer in what he's doing, obviously. So the quote that he came out with, I thought this was a great one. Jess brought it to us. Is discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. So you came up with the quote, so why don't you tell us what you think it means?
I love Tom Ferry a lot. I follow him on all his social, and I love his new Instagram, like questions that he answers. I'm always on that.
You're also on one of his ads from when you were jumping up and down at the summit. Do you remember that? I think you told me you felt like a nerd when you said it. The ad still runs.
I specifically said we do not talk about this anymore.
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. My whole family made.
Can we get the ad up on the screen here,
no,
Val?
Nope.
I think we can.
Don't do it. My whole family made memes about it, and it just haunts me to this day.
How come you are not showing us this stuff? Are you kidding me?
Because I'm embarrassed. And I was like, TF, you need to hit me with some royalties because my face is all over all of your marketing.
I'm pretty sure you signed a waiver when you went to the summit that wouldn't happen. So I know Tom well, and he has good attorneys, like everyone should.
Okay.
So
we'll see.
the odds of that are
We'll
small.
see what happens. But discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. I think discipline is so incredibly hard, and I think that it's something. No, I know that it's something that I work consciously every day to do, like little disciplines. That's how I start. I'd rather do something little and then work to like my bigger things to get me from my goals to like have it be accomplished. So like setting goals to like do your nightly routine, like for ladies. A lot of the times, like at night, I just want to go to bed. I don't want to take off my makeup. I just want to get in bed and snuggle my dog, but that's bad. You're, bad for your face and things like that, and you'll be so much happier if you just, that simple discipline, it's so easy to do, just do it, and over time you'll see great results. Another thing, like something bigger, like working out, just start little here and there. Don't like go in like 100% all the time. You have to remind yourself like these things are going to take time. It's not like you're not going to work out 5 days a week so hard for like right away. It happens little consistencies over time. So that's what I think it meant, and that's how I work it.
Yeah, so you mentioned some interesting stuff there, and I'm clear you're on the right path. I've got a little different take on this in that, when I hear discipline, I think of daily disciplines, like what's got to happen for you every day to make it successful. So we have a team call in the morning where we talk about gratitudes, intentions, and challenges, and I would say I don't think I've had a different intention for my day since you started working with me. I don't think it's ever changed.
I think I could repeat it verbatim.
So, well, go ahead. Why don't you tell everybody?
My intention is to set 2 listing appointments for the day. I think
pretty much it. Yeah. Simple. So now some of the disciplines that come along with that. So you mentioned working out. We talked about the 5 a.m. call. So for me, the discipline comes in the morning because I don't know what's going to happen in the afternoon. And I know if I get up every day at a certain time, it's usually like 4:50 in the morning, and I'm on this call, it's a motivational call. And the point of that is not so much to hear the motivational talk. Like that stuff's great, don't get me wrong. The point of the call is to get up and be accountable to be on the call every day. And that's a discipline. And then once that happens, well, there's like literally nothing going on at 5 in the morning when you get up. Like my house is asleep, I've got 3 kids, I've got to let the dogs out. That's about the only responsibility I have. And then I have kind of my routine or the discipline every day. So I get my day together in terms of stuff I need to prep for the team, for our meetings. I prep all my call sheets for my lead generation. That's all done by about 5:30, 5:45. I am invariably working out by 6. And then once that happens, I'm done by like 7, once I do like stretching and cool downs and all that stuff. And then I come into the office, help get my kids out the door, and I do my lead generation because what Tom also said, I don't know if he wants me to repeat this, but you heard it, is that if you have an empty pipeline as a realtor, you are a dead carcass on the side of the road. You're out of the business and nobody else told you, and the other agents are picking at your corpse, I think it was, or carcass. That's what it was. So anyway, you get the idea.
Very true.
It was very extreme, and I remember hearing this from him. So that to me is a discipline, to make sure that I'm constantly finding new people to sell our listings to, new people to have our buyers buy their properties, and new people that need my help or that need our team's help. So those disciplines, I mean, you got to do it every day, because if you don't do it every day, the big challenge in our business and any business, and sales especially, is consistency, right? Like not having that up month and a down month and an up month and a down month. And it's no different than the person that puts on weight and they take it off and they look good and then they put it back on again. It's because they stop doing those daily disciplines. So when I hear this, it tells me, what are you doing every day to reach your goals and reach your accomplishments? I don't know if that's what Tom meant. I'm going to ask him, because I told him we were talking about this, and he said, send me the show. So
I think that, little things you do every day, like you said, consistently, but especially when you're starting something new and you're setting this goal and you're working the disciplines around it, you need to realize that you may fail. Just because you fail one day doesn't mean that everything's off track. Just get up and do it again the next day.
If you're not embracing failure, you're not going to grow. I mean, you're not going to be perfect all the time. I mean, you bat 3 for 10, you're in the Hall of Fame, right? Like that's how it works in baseball. And another thing that kind of rings true, and something that my very first coach told me, so Carl Rizzuto down in Florida and North Carolina, big shout out, anything that gives you short-term pleasure will not help you with your long-term goals. Think about it, though. Like, you're a realtor, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I want to go find a new buyer to go sell a house to. That's great. So if you just have a person falls in your lap, but you're not doing the long-term nurture calls, you're not working the people that are 6, 12 months out, you're not prospecting for listings, because listings really drive business. You're just looking at those, and you're running around with this person nonstop. Let's say it's a relo buyer, to get really extreme, so you're going to sell them a house in 3 days, but then what? So, okay, you got another. That's it. And then you really have to work the relationship to maybe get some repeat business. That's not a guarantee. That's because of their connections. They're not the ones working. So when that is the ultimate reminder.
And you're nurturing everybody else when you're that's just one, but others that you nurture and you talk to for 12 months, those just little calls every day. I mean, that's where the business is going to come from.
So let's say your ratio is, yours is 11 to 1. Every 11 people talk to you, schedule an appointment. The 10 no's are just as important.
Yeah.
The no's are a no, not right now in a lot of cases, or maybe they have some objections, which means they're considering working with you. Or even you look at the short term of hey, I'm going to take a rest this week from working out. Well, you got some short term pleasure from that, but you're kind of moving backwards in your health journey. So, and health's such an easy thing to compare here. So, sounds like we agree on this one. So the big disagreement is about our friend here with the home on Norristown. I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens with that one. I'm going to be very interested. Not because I want to be right, more because of the issues I have with the intentions of the agent.
I'm with you on the intentions.
That's all we got this week. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.
See ya.